Nurse Anesthesia Program. She's a CRNA residing in North Carolina and is the past president of both the North Carolina Association of Nurse Anesthetists and the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology. And she has a background and extensive experience on state and national committees. In 2021, she earned her DNP in Healthcare Leadership from Yale. She's a fellow of the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology and an inductee of the FAAN. She co-hosts the award-winning podcast Beyond the Mask. Sharon is a nationally recognized speaker on advocacy, legislation, and clinical topics. She ran for the North Carolina State House of Representatives in 2016. And our next presenter is Renee Ellmers. She is a nurse with over 30 years of experience in healthcare. She's currently residing in North Carolina. She's also a graduate student at the University of Michigan School of Nursing. In addition to her clinical background, she had the honor of serving 3 terms in the U.S. House of Representatives as a regional director of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
While we're getting this video ready, Bethany Hall was supposed to be here with us. She's a commissioner, and she is the first nurse to ever serve as a lieutenant governor in this country. And she also chaired the Democratic Lieutenant Governors Association, so she's kind of a big deal. And speaking of kind of a big deals, whenever you were getting your standing ovation, General, somebody behind me said, "And she's a real badass." And you know what? You are a real badass. And if we had more badasses like you, we wouldn't be in the spot we are right now. So thank you for everything. We need your DNA and a clone you, so if your water glass disappears, I'm the one who took it. Just letting you know. But speaking of badasses, Bethany Hall is also one, and she is currently running for governor of Delaware, and that's the reason why she cannot be here. When she wins, we're going to speak in the positive. When she wins, she will be the first nurse to serve as governor in the United States. She's not the first nurse to run. Erin Murphy ran in Minnesota and lost. So we're praying that Bethany Hall will be the first nurse governor, and I'm going to tell you why that's important. So if you want to go ahead and start first.
Hi, Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall in Delaware, the first state. As a nurse, career educator, professor, I compliment the Commission for Nurse Reimbursement. Your efforts matter. I wish I was with you in person at the Legislative Summit, but I know as you're having conversations, you're coming up with incredible strategies. Let's face it, nurses are the backbone of our health system, whether in direct care, in education, community services, the insurance sector, we matter. And our compensation is outdated. It is a model that's nearly 100 years old. So thank you to the Commission for Nurse Reimbursement as you look to get nurses directly reimbursed for the services that they provide daily to uplift patients and families in our communities across this great nation. So thank you for advocating. We know that there's so much work to be done around nursing and nursing care, but direct reimbursement has to happen. It's a journey of advocacy. I can tell you, as someone who worked her way from a state rep to a state senator to take care of people as a lieutenant governor, and now running to be America's first nurse governor, it's really important that we take these efforts collectively together.
So some may be wondering, why is the CRNA here? We have a...
Hi, Lieutenant Governor Bethany Hall.
I'm sorry. It's okay. It's okay.
I was just going to pull your...
No worries. No worries. Why is the CRNA here? We have a reproducible model. Nurse anesthetists have been third-party reimbursed since 1988. What's come from that? 88% of nurse anesthetists would choose the same profession all over again. Nurses would not choose the same profession all over again. And I can tell you, I would not have. This year I have been a nurse for 40 years. I know it's mind-boggling. I lasted on the floor 3 months. And I can remember a nurse called in and I had to split a ward 24 patients. It was me and a nursing assistant, and it was on a neuro ward, and I was doing 12-hour nights because we could only work nights, and all I would do is work and cry, work and cry. And I said to myself, I'm getting out of this mess. I don't know why I decided to do it, even though I need to go back and read my journal like Shannon talked about, because I wanted to be a nurse since I was in the 2nd grade, and they broke me in 3 months. So I decided to go into critical care, and I found out about nurse anesthesia, and that's where I wanted to go. Like I said, 88% would choose the same career again. The other 12% just found out they didn't like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So that's the reason why. We have an MPI number and have had MPI numbers for years. So we know what happens when you give nurses autonomy, power, recognition, and respect, because that's what nurse anesthetists have. Love my profession. Listen, I wear this pin everywhere I go. It is a part of who I am. I don't know what I'm going to do when I retire, number one. But the good news is, once you let people know who you are and what you do, how important it is, nursing has traditionally not done a great job with that. Everybody knows they love nurses, but they don't really know what we do, right? Now, used to, I would have this pin and people would come up and go, a CRNA, is that your name, CRNA? But it would give me an opportunity to explain to people what it is I do. And what's the first thing that you want to, whenever you meet somebody, I do this all the time, what kind of work do you do? Because you know what? The next question they're going to ask you is, what kind of work do you do? And that's a teachable moment for me to teach them about nurse anesthetists, who we are and what we do. So when nurses lead, we all succeed. This is what I did some of my doctoral work on at Yale. So we'll talk about this. I think we talked about that. I ran for office, and these were some of my nice little cards that went out in the mail. Where I cut my teeth basically on was I passed a diabetic bill in North Carolina back 2001. I had a daughter who had diabetes since she was 5 years of age. So that's, like I said, that's where I cut my political teeth. We wound up passing a law in North Carolina, fourth state in the nation to pass such a bill, Care for School Children with Diabetes Act. And I learned more about politics than I even care to express right now. We certainly don't have enough time. Let's talk about nurses and political activism. Nurses have always been politically active. We're falling short. We're falling short a little bit now. Think about Florence Nightingale, the founder of our whole profession. Lillian Waltz, she founded and advocated for school nurses. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you a little piece of information. Whenever I was doing the diabetic bill, you know who my biggest antagonists were? School nurses. School nurses. Whole other story, we'll talk about that at happy hour. Lavinia Dock, she founded the National League of Nursing. Claire Barton founded the Red Cross. So we have a very long and rich history. What really happened? We moved from a community-based type of care. Nurses were out riding horses and going to see patients, and we went into the hospitals, and we bought into the medical model, right? Read the medical monopoly, but you're going to have a beta blocker to do it. Nurses owned everything. Most hospitals were begun by nurses. Nuns, exactly. And then we gave it away. We started buying into the medical model. We went from community-based care to cure. And whenever we went into the hospital systems, of course, we became dominated by the physicians. And our moral duty changed from the community to working with physicians. So we have a problem with representation. We have a problem within elected politics. Like I said, I ran for the state house in North Carolina. I ran for a seat that usually only cost about $8,000 to win, a small seat. It didn't have an incumbent, it was an open seat. The House of Medicine, dumped $250,000 into a super PAC against me. House of Medicine does not want nurses involved in politics in places of power. I raised $67,000. So that seat, which was usually $8,000, was over a $330,000 race. Yes. You can close your mouth now. So, you know what I tell my husband all the time? Baby, am I worth $250,000? Sometimes I don't get the answer that I want. Currently, even now, in this Congress, we have 19 physicians. Do you realize I think it's three physicians signed the Declaration of Independence. So they've always been there. And let me clarify, I am not physician bashing, okay? I'm just pro-nurse. So I just want to get that across. Nurses fare no better at the state and local level. And all other professions recognize that this is a problem and they recruit people to run. Very few nurses serve in elected office, and that hinders our profession. Think about it. It's who pushes the button at the end of the day. Whenever I talk to nurses, I ask them all the time, who tells you how you can practice? In North Carolina, it's 170 legislators. Most people will say who controls your practice is the Board of Nursing. That's a crock. They do not. It's the 170 people. Now, I'm going to tell you, the guy that I ran against for the state house, oh, he beat me, and he beat me badly, very badly. He's now the chair of healthcare in North Carolina in the state house. Okay? Ask me what he does for a living.
What does he do for a living?
He's a contractor. So he knows all about healthcare.
Right.
So he got his chairman position because the House of Medicine gave the Speaker of the House $350,000 for his caucus. Yeah. Every time I go up and I see this legislator, I'll shake his hand because we've got legislation going on. I'll say, can I count on your support for the SAVE Act? And he goes, you know I have 250,000 reasons why I won't. I respect it. He says it to my face. So I can live with that. We did not know how many nurses served in public office. In 2011, the ANA, the American Nurses Association, quit tracking that. Fortunately, we have somebody, Darlene Curley, based out of Utah, did a study for her doctoral project, and we have the data now. 72 nurses across this country serve in state legislatures. And you think about that, we're the most trusted profession, right? People love nurses. 1 in 50 voters is a nurse. And the numbers keep going down. In 2000, there were about 100 nurses that served nationally. And like I said, there's only 72 nurses. And it's pretty bruising to be in a campaign, I get it. So why are nurses not running? You have to kind of tie into the gender issue. Women must be recruited to run, and they must be asked 7 times. I thought that I was a self-starter, and I had never been asked before. And at happy hour, I'll tell you why I decided to run, really decided to run. But then I looked back, and I was asked multiple times. You men, you wake up and you look in the mirror and you say, I could be president. What is it? That's why what 45 said to himself, looked in the mirror and said, I can be president. You can give a woman a job description and there'll be 100 things, 100 qualifications. If you've got 99, go, oh my God, I've got one that I'm not good at. And you won't even apply for the job, right? Female candidates are judged by their likability in their dress. You know, if a man runs for office, they're not talking about the suit he's got on today. Think about Hillary Clinton in the pantsuits. It's all about different things. I love this. You know, the game, if I could have dinner with one person alive or dead, who would it be and why? I would have dinner with Shirley Chisholm. One of my favorite quotes, "Of my two handicaps, being female put many more obstacles in my path than being black." The good news is, whenever we make it to the ballot, we do perform just as well. Now, I'm not man bashing either, okay? I love men. Y'all hold up 49% of the sky, and we appreciate you. Like I said, women are less likely to see themselves as candidates. Men are 50% more likely to see themselves as qualified. And men are more likely to say that they've thought about running for office or serving in office. And this gap starts in college. For you guys who have girls, daughters, it starts in college. Little girls think that they can be president. Men receive more encouragement from their parents. And the things that women think about, like I've got to take care of the family and the home, men don't care. Because they've got us there to do it, right? So they don't really care about that. But think about what a good job nurses do. And here is Exhibit A, right here. You saw Bethany Hall Long. We have all kinds of skills to deal holistically with things that are translatable to government. We know how to form and lead teams. We're collaborative. Boy, are we collaborative, right? We're problem solvers. We have listening skills. We're strong communicators. We know how to deal with conflict management. I mean, the first time I had to deal with the man who was coming out of surgery, and I'm trying to get his mistress to go one way and his wife to go another way, you know, and making sure the two don't meet, right? So we're very good at that. Negotiating skills. Culturally sensitive. Nurses have all the skills, and we're an untapped resource for running for office, but nurses are trusted. You know, whenever I was door knocking every evening, whenever I was running for office, trust me, I went into more houses to look at boils in unknown places that maybe you shouldn't be looking at, and looking at medicines, but they love nurses, love nurses. American public trusts nurses more than any other group to improve the current healthcare system. I hate that bunched up like that, but there's a real study. We have data. The American public thinks that we can fix the healthcare system. Hopefully we can inject honesty back into politics. Now, here, I'm going to let you guys here, only here, knows about this particular group. Physicians who serve in state legislatures have been organized since the 1980s, the Physician Alliance. So I met Darlene Curley, who did all the research about where all the nurses are, and so we have founded a group called the National Forum of Nurse Legislators. It's a foundling group, and it's organizing all the nurse legislators across this country. So hopefully, once we get this started, I'm learning a lot from starting things from Rebecca here, you know. But if we can get this off the ground so that we can organize nurse legislators across this country, hopefully it'll help our cause in a bigger way. So it's Bethany Hall Long. Gail Adcock is the first APRN to serve in the Senate in North Carolina, and of course Darlene, who did all the data work. But nothing is impossible. You know, this is a Herculean effort that we have all undertaken. And impossible is impossible. And is there ever going to be a right time to do this? We've been waiting for 100 years. 100 years. I want to live to see this through, right? I've already been a nurse for 40 years. I want to live to see this through. Great, my brain is just spinning right now, listening to all of this in here. Now, I'm telling you, I'm not a numbers person. I wanted to stab myself in the eye when Robert was talking, but, sorry, but that's not my deal. That is not my deal. The reason why I'm here is because what all of you smart people are going to do, somebody's got to sell it whenever it's ready to go. And that's our goal here. So I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let Renee, I know, I'm afraid to give a real politician the microphone. You know, if I give her a spotlight, we'll never get her to shut up, right? But they learn really early. They learn really early how to use the microphone. So I'm going to let Renee chat with you guys now.
Sharon has such a broad scope of knowledge on so many different issues, and I was just thinking when we were talking about nursing experience, between the two of us, we have over 70 years of nursing experience in healthcare. Just here, right here, between the two of us.
Thank God for Botox.
I know it. Innovation. I really struggle with what to say to all of you, because we have talked about this issue. It is difficult for women, period, to get elected into office. It is very difficult. The odds are stacked against us. But nursing in particular, who are nurses? People love us unconditionally. That's part of the issue that we're dealing with here, is we don't know our own value, and we can't put a dollar figure on that value. But when it comes to running for office, it is so vitally important for our profession to have nurses in Congress. And when I say that, I certainly mean, female and male. I'm not just talking about, women, but I'm just saying what, I'm a pretty honest person, and I like to just put it out there.
Wait,
it's
you're a
difficult.
politician?
Yeah, and I'm a politician. Well, I was. Now that's the thing. I got elected to Congress, but I was really never a politician. But what I'll say is this: it takes money. It takes money, and it takes outside support. It takes people raising money for you, because you can't do it all. So what I think we as a group need to do is really be cognizant of that. There needs to be financial support behind nurses getting into Congress, getting into state, getting into local elected officials. We need women, I say women, but men too, nurses in the boardrooms, making the decisions. Every time a nurse is part of that discussion, the end product is so much better, and no matter what we talk about. So we have to be the ones to move this forward. We have to find a way to support women and men who are running for office, who are nurses, because again, look, I was there. I served with a number of physicians. Believe they were all men. My husband's a physician, so I don't have a thing with that. They were making all the decisions. And even though I was actually serving with a couple of other nurses, our voices really were not heard. We were looked upon as secondary to physicians and their decisions. And that was very difficult, and something that I wanted to overcome. What I would say is that, what are we going to take from today? I want to challenge all of you. When you leave here, don't just keep this meeting to yourself. When you are at work, when you are talking to your friends, when you are talking to your group of folks, and they say, so what did you do this week? You are going to talk about this meeting and what we discussed. I want you to say to people, do you know how nurses are paid? Do you know that they're basically paid through the room rate of a hospital room? Do you know that nurses are the only healthcare profession that are not able to bill independently on their own. Say it in a way that people can understand. Don't necessarily use the words that we use, because we need for people to understand this. I can guarantee you that through education and our voices, we will move this forward. Because people don't know. I didn't know. Do you know, I found out about a year ago that the way nurses that work in hospitals are paid is really out of the room right. Had no clue. Never understood why nurses and what nurses are paid is such a difficult issue. And as I was listening to the group prior, I thought to myself, how is it that we all understand this? And that we all understand that nurses bring such value, but yet when it comes to the discussions in the hospitals at the executive level, there is a misunderstanding or a lack of understanding or silos. Essentially, it's all silos. Everyone's working in their silo. Right now, July is just around the corner, right? So we're all talking about those fiscal budgets, the beginning of the year. Well, what are we going to have in our budget? And so all of this goes away because we're looking at that budget. It's always about what's going to happen today and tomorrow, but never really the future. And we need to be proactive that way. We need to be moving this forward. They need, and when I say they, I mean I am talking about hospital administrators and some of whom are nurses. We need to move this forward and not just talk about the budget that we're going to get, but what are we going to do with the budget moving forward? How can we increase the amount of revenue that's coming into the hospital by recognizing the value that nurses put forward? So I gave you challenge one, which is share with others where you were and what you were talking about. But I also want you to reach out to your elected officials. I want you to find out who your congressman is, who represents your district. I want you to find out who your senators are. I want you to call their offices and say to them, nurses need to be reimbursed for the value that they bring. Because I will guarantee you, 99% of them are completely unaware. And it's because healthcare in DC is not something that is very well understood. It just isn't. It's very complex, it's very difficult, and they're always putting out the fires of the day. They don't think about things proactively. It's always reactively, but they have to be made aware. And I just saw it so many times as the discussions were going on here, and I thought, if this group were on the Hill in a hearing in the Senate or the House, and the American people could hear the experiences that nurses have and how we are undervalued and how we deserve reimbursement that actually pays for the value we provide, I can guarantee you there will be a change. But it's our voices that are going to have to do it. And it's through education. And we have, you saw all the moving parts, the numbers, we've got that information. We just need for people to understand that this is what we are faced with, because they don't know. They hear nursing shortage and they say, oh, there's always a nursing shortage. I mean, it just, because it doesn't necessarily affect them directly. They don't know that it affects them directly. That's why we have to be the voice and wake people up and answer this problem. This is a solvable issue. There are a lot of issues out there that we will never ever fix. This one we can fix. So I leave you with that challenge. I won't give you a time limit, but seriously, make people aware. bring awareness from this meeting. Because I can see that this group is fired up. The energy in this facility, this venue is through the roof. And we gotta take that and do something with it. We can't just keep it bottled up inside us. We've gotta let people know. So with that, I say thank you very much.
Thank you. One last thing, before happy hour, I want y'all to think about one thing, and I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. I've been working on a 3-year project. We're doing a documentary on nurses that have served in legislatures, Congress. When I say 3 years, it's been a long 2 years, because it was supposed to have been done by the time I finished my DMP project at Yale. I designed the first campaign goal in the country for nurses while I was at Yale. And they said, well, that's just not enough. You need to do a documentary. So we've still been working on it for 3 years. Luckily, we did get to interview Nettie Bernice Johnson, and God rest her soul. But one of the last questions we asked every single nurse that we interviewed, what do you think the pandemic would have looked like if nurses would have been in charge? So I want you to think about that. And that'll be a topic of conversation at happy hour.
All right.
So thank you guys for spending the day with us. What we want to do from here is basically why we made this a small networked group was because over the last year, there was a lot of debate, a lot of discussion, a lot of education, a lot of research to bring what happened today here.
Going forward, we think that this is a 5 or 10 year process. But in the conversations we've had, both with Congressman Moore's office, as well as Senator Sanders and Senator Romney's, we've already been made aware that the issue that nurses do not have a reimbursement mechanism was brought up not only in the Health Committee, but also in Ways and Means. Surprisingly, the national narrative is changing. Things are happening faster than we expected. Where we're going from here is looking for strategic partnerships and relationships. Currently, the Commission is a volunteer organization made up of a very small group of nurses. We just opened up our membership, hit 100 members within a week, which was quite surprising for us. But we're in this for the long haul. The truth is that if we're going to save the future of the nursing profession, all of the other things that we tackle on burnout and give them one more app and AI and another technology and a tool is not going to be fundamentally fixed unless we figure out an economic model that invests in the future of the nursing profession that is going to sustain healthcare. So with that, I hope you will join us. We're going to move forward with doing things differently. We're building the plane as we fly it. We hope that one day this is going to change. I'm going to leave you with a quote that a friend of mine told me to look up. Florence Nightingale was quoted to say that she started in her journals in 1870 that it would take 150 years for the world to envision the world that she saw for nursing. 1870 plus 150 is this decade. It means to me that it has been foretold that this is the generation who is supposed to change and realize the potential that nursing has always had to change the delivery of healthcare, and with it, take care of patients the way they've always been deserving to be cared for. So with your help, we will do that. We look forward to going to happy hour, which is going to be downstairs. And just one final thing, if you guys will give me a round of applause to Melissa, Renee, James, and Sharon. So thank you guys, and we'll see you downstairs.